What's interesting, talking to you about some of the things that you spoke of when you were on the front bench under Ed Miliband, is arguably why Jeremy Corbyn left you on the back benches then. There were people, weren't there, at that time, who called you a red Tory, sort of suggested that you weren't welcome in the Labour Party.
I found that very difficult, actually. I found it very difficult because I joined the Labour Party when I was 17. I've been in the Labour Party for 25 years now. And I love the Labour Party. I love its traditions. I love its history. And when people said that to me, I felt like, well, it's my family. Like, don't tell me I don't belong here. It's where I've always been. And I found that very hard, very hard. Very hard at conference after Jeremy Corbyn became leader, to people shouting that at me because...
Screaming at you?
Yeah, I found that very difficult.
You look quite emotional just even remembering it. Was it a really tough time?
I did. I found it very difficult because I love the Labour Party, and you know I've been delivering leaflets and knocking on doors. Yeah, for 25 years, and then people who, in many cases, had just joined for the first ever time, telling me that this wasn't my party.
Rachel Reeves was visibly shaken when pressed about being called a red Tory in a recent interview. For anyone who holds Labour's traditional values close, i.e. it's a harsh label, struggling to hold back tears, Reeves fought to defend her commitment to the Labour Party. Why did it hit so hard? Was it the pressure of defending her party or something more personal tied to her identity? In that moment, it became clear the weight of leading a political party is far heavier than most realize.
This government is determined to turn around the poor performance of more than a decade when it comes to growth, and we need to go further and faster in growing our economy, in ensuring that we boost our national security and defence, and reforming our public services. That's why the Prime Minister set out yesterday reforms to regulation. That's why this week we've introduced the Planning and Infrastructure Bill to get Britain building again, but we must go further and faster to boost living standards and grow our economy.
But here's the bigger question. If Reeves truly loves the Labour Party, why does she seem so disconnected from the very people who support it? Voters, especially in working-class communities that once fueled Labour's victories, now feel abandoned. They've watched as decisions were made that didn't reflect their struggles or needs. So when Reeves passionately defends her loyalty to Labour, many wonder, when will she start showing that same love to the people who actually voted for it? It's not just about party allegiance, it's about connecting with those who need it most. Her emotional breakdown only adds to the controversy. Critics accuse her of being out of touch, lacking transparency and authenticity. With Labour leaders facing growing skepticism, her tearful defense only highlights the gap between what she says and how the public feels. The real question now is, can she bridge that divide? Or is this just another sign of a deepening rift?
Did you enhance your CV to make yourself look better qualified?
I'm really proud of the jobs that I did before I became a Member of Parliament. I worked at the Bank of England in the international area, working on investment and productivity. I worked as the second Economics Secretary at the British Embassy in Washington. I've done an undergraduate degree in PPE, a master's from the London School of Economics in economics, and then I worked in the private sector where I worked for Halifax Bank of Scotland.
Why did you say that you'd worked at the Bank of England for a decade when in fact it was, well, it wasn't even 6 years, it was 5. I mean, that's exaggeration, isn't it?
You claim to have worked at the Bank of England for a decade, but it wasn't even 6 years. It was 5. That's exaggeration, isn't it? You say you love the Labour Party, but when will you start loving the people who vote for it? This question cuts straight to the heart of the growing frustration with Labour, especially Rachel Reeves. Once the voice of working-class communities, Labour stood for the everyday person fighting for a better life. But now, many feel the party has abandoned them. Critics argue Labour has lost touch with the voters who once trusted them to fight for their needs. There's a rising sentiment that the leadership is out of sync with the struggles of those who put them in power. As Reeves defends the party, her critics demand to know, why don't her actions reflect the values Labour once championed?
Well, I worked at the Bank of England for 6 years, between 2000 and 2006. I was employed by the Bank of England, including I spent just over a year at the British Embassy working in the economics section there, supporting and the bank.
Why did you say it was a decade?
Well, I think you're taking I think it's one interview. I worked at the Bank of England for 6 years. I worked for then at Halifax Bank of England, I think, for 3 years after that. I became an MP when I was 31. But I think in the end, people want to judge me on the job that I'm doing today.
If you love the Labour Party, why don't you show that love for the people who built it? It's not just about following the party line, it's about connecting with the communities Labour was meant to serve. But the public sees Labour's elite, including Rachel Reeves, as out of touch with the struggles of everyday people. They want a leader who listens, who truly represents them, not just the party's interests. Despite her emotional defense, Reeves hasn't shaken the perception that she's more focused on protecting the party's image than addressing the real concerns of its supporters. Can she bridge this divide? Or is the disconnect too deep? Things got worse when it was revealed that Reeves had exaggerated her CV to land a position within the party. It wasn't a small mistake. It was a deliberate attempt to inflate her qualifications. This scandal didn't just raise questions about her credibility, but about the integrity of those in leadership.
Last year, the Prime Minister was apparently drawing up plans to remove the winter fuel allowance from pensioners. His Paymaster General went a step further. He said these are the sorts of things that we need to look at. So will he now rule out taking pensioners' winter fuel payments off them to help fund his £46 billion black hole?
When confronted about the CV scandal, Reeves' response only deepened the public's mistrust. Instead of offering a clear explanation or taking responsibility, she got defensive, dodging questions and avoiding transparency. Her refusal to own up to the issue raised more suspicion than the lie itself. This scandal isn't just about a false claim, it's about accountability. If someone in such a high position can deceive the public, what does that say about the Labour Party as a whole? Critics now question the integrity of the leadership, and the trust between the party and its supporters continues to erode.
It's now clear that your Chancellor misled everybody about how long she was at the Bank of England. Are you comfortable that she's exaggerated her relevant experience?
Rachel Reeves has dealt with any issues that arise. She delivered a really important budget for the country that balanced the books, gave us stability, that is beginning to see those interest rates come down, those mortgages coming down as a result, beginning to see some of the growth we need, and she's determined that we go further with that. So she can deal with the issues that arise out of this report many years ago. What I'm concerned with, what she's concerned with, what we get up every day to do, is to make sure that this economy in our country, which was badly damaged under the last government, is revived, we have growth, and that is felt in the pockets of working people across the country because they feel better off.
When a senior figure like Reeves is caught in a lie, it's hard for the public to trust the party is acting in their best interest. If she can deceive the public, how can voters be sure others aren't doing the same? This scandal only deepens doubts about Labour's commitment to honesty and transparency, a reputation that will be hard to shake. The Labour Party is under increasing scrutiny, with leaders like Reeves, Keir Starmer, and Angela Rayner repeatedly criticized for offering empty promises. The public is tired of hearing vague solutions with no real action behind them. Instead of addressing tough questions head-on, Labour leaders have dodged direct answers, leaving voters frustrated and confused. Their focus seems more on image than on addressing the real concerns of the people. The lack of transparency is creating a growing perception that the party is out of touch and unwilling to confront the issues that matter.
At the budget, Labour were congratulating themselves for having the first female Chancellor, instead of ensuring the country had someone actually qualified to do the job. The Prime Minister, Mr. Speaker, the Prime Minister claims he has full confidence in the Chancellor, but the markets clearly do not. Yesterday, the Chancellor repeated her promise to have just one budget per year to provide businesses with certainty. The talk in the city is that she can't meet her fiscal rules, and there will need to be an emergency budget. So does the Prime Minister stand by the Chancellor's commitment that there will be only one budget this year?
She'll be pleased to know the Chancellor will be in place for many, many years to come. She'll outstrip them. Mr. Speaker, if we all thought the politics was about cheap words, I could criticise their chancellors, but I don't have enough time to go through all of the chancellors that they had. We have one budget, that's what we're committed to, strong fiscal rules, and we'll stick to them, unlike the party opposite.
Every missed opportunity to answer tough questions or follow through on promises has taken a toll on Labour's credibility. Even when Labour leaders make valid points, their reputation for dishonesty and evasion overshadows their words. People no longer just question what they say, they question whether they can be trusted at all. Labour's failure to address its internal issues honestly has many wondering if it's capable of leading the country, or if it's just putting on a show. With the UK's economy in crisis, rising inflation, a shrinking economy, and an unmanageable budget deficit, the pressure on Rachel Reeves is mounting. As Shadow Chancellor, Reeves is responsible for Labour's economic strategy, but her proposals have fallen short of addressing the scale of the country's challenges. One of the biggest issues is the £22 billion black hole in the UK's finances. Despite the political heat, Reeves has failed to offer a satisfactory solution, leaving the public questioning whether Labour has a credible economic plan, or if it's just another empty promise. As the economy worsens, speculation is growing that Reeves may be forced to resign or become the scapegoat for Labour's failures. With the financial crisis deepening, her position is becoming increasingly precarious. Time will tell if she can weather the storm, or if Labour will look elsewhere for leadership in this turbulent period. If you found this insightful, like and subscribe. More videos are waiting for you here.